Hello, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? I hope you're well. um, it was interesting yesterday. I've never locked a doubleheader before like that, where I took the Yankees in both games and they won both games. Unfortunately, I should have just stayed with Tampa Bay with McCullough instead of trying to play it under, and I lost in the bottom of the ninth. We're locked 7.5, so it's 7. We're winning. It goes to 8, and then the same thing in the Dodger game. Lock them under 8, and it's at 8, and then it goes to 9 in the bottom of the ninth. So I'm starting to get like a football, like with the late meaningless touchdown to cover, which normally a teaser takes care of. I picked the. I'm getting beat in the ninth inning with games. Anyway, happy 4th of July to everybody tomorrow. I'll say it today. I didn't feel lucky yesterday as far as playing poker, so I didn't play. There's a feeling you get that says, go play. And there's a feeling you say, I don't think so. Yesterday it was more like, I don't think so. So I took out a deck of cards and I dealt like 7-handed hold'em, and I didn't win a hand for like 45 minutes. I said, okay, I'm not going. But it is funny if you deal the cards face up. So you deal both cards to like 7, 8 people, including yourself, and then you flop and turn and river. It's amazing how if you just leave everybody in and nobody bets, once 5 cards are out, normally about 75% of the time there's a hand. By people that wouldn't get a hand, they have 2, 5, and then it comes 3, 4, 6 or something, So it's weird if you leave people out there long enough, they will catch. So you don't want that. That's why you must bet to protect. You're betting more for insurance. You got a pair of aces, you got to bet, because if you just let the cards come out, somebody's going to pull 2 pair on you a lot. And, this could be with king 2. They could pull 2 pair. So this is what I see when I dealt like that. But anyway, that was practice. But I didn't go. So let's look at, let's go to baseball. Now I see a early game with the Tigers and KC. Who cares? Let's go to the real games, the real teams. And there's a lot of early games, so let's get to it. All right. Let's see. Detroit KC with the 4.33 ERA. Screwball, who was good, who's not any good anymore. He's a 5-6 with a 3.75. Now, normally this would be an over, but they don't score. I mean, it was 4-3 yesterday, over under 7. I could see taking them over 7. But here's what I don't like about baseball. If you look at the Detroit's lineup, they got 5 players who aren't hitting 220 in it. Right? They got 3 players or 4 players hitting under 200. It's one of the worst lineups for average I've ever seen in my life. They have maybe 2 hitters. And I don't consider Cabrera a hitter. I consider, they got a few hitters. Then they bring up this new guy and they're all excited. Oh, he's going to do it. Well, no, you still suck. You still got 5 hitters hitting under 200. So it really leaves you in a dilemma where they're playing this singer with a 4.33 and Screwball, who's been probably 6 or 7 the last 5 games. You bet it over when they can't hit. So this is the problem with Detroit. So we're going to watch that game. All right, let's go to the 135 games. The Dolphins and the Redskins. Not a good football game, not a good baseball game. What happened yesterday? I had Miami over. They got to 8 and they stopped. They didn't score on the weak starters. What am I noticing? The starter Sometimes he's got a 7 ERA and he shuts you out for 5 innings. Sometimes he's got a 2 ERA and you score 6 runs on him, like Hugh Darvish yesterday. That's why I lost the Dodgers. It was 2 good pitches. Hugh Darvish gives up 5-6 runs in the first 2 innings. Oh, the under. You're not expecting a Hugh Darvish to pitch that badly, and that's really where the problem is. So it's again averages. So we take this with a grain of salt. It's not football. It's very inconsistent, but like the Yankees, we still can get the winners. It's the inconsistent pitchers and teams and there's too much of that here. All right, so Pablo Lopez, 5 and 4 at the 2.98, who is the ace of Miami against Eric Fetty for Washington, 5 and 5, 4.00. We're taking Miami here. We've got the ace on the mound. Over under, I have no idea anymore. It just makes it difficult. Let's see if I've broken it down at all. I've tried to put in over-unders on the teams, or A's and Z's. So the Yankees are an A team, and then the Z's are Oakland and Seattle, Arizona. Colorado's a good over at home. I mean, it's so weird. So let's look at Miami, Washington. Miami has an over team and Washington team. Washington is terrible ERA, 4.14 for the relievers. Miami 3.73. Now, I don't know that that's a good stat to look at because they'll throw the reliever out for 1 inning. He comes out, pitches it. Most of the time, he shuts you out. Some of the times, he gives up 3 runs. Again, that's the problem with the earned run average. It's an average. But it just is they're just out for an inning. So it seems easier that probably a bigger percentage of them you don't score on. Maybe you get a run on. So if the ERA is 4, they're really going to give up 4. I think it just shows you they got a weak bullpen. And then again, if they're up 5 runs, they're not going to go to their ace. They're going to go to the lesser guys. So again, that skews it. So they're both overs, which is why we went over yesterday. But I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm going to take the ace and Lopez and take Miami with the ace. So we're taking Miami. The Packers and the Steelers, 2 very good NFL teams. Over under 7.5. We got Woodruff, 6 and 3 with a 4.44 ERA from Milwaukee, and Quintana 1 and 4 with a 3.43 ERA. I played Quintana under last game, and he gave up a bunch of runs. He's only 1 and 4. I thought he was a good pitcher, but the ERA is not bad, 3.43. Over under 7.5. Yesterday, we had Milwaukee over 9, and it went over. I know Milwaukee scored 19 the day before, so they're scoring a lot. I don't see either pitcher really holding down the other. So let's go over in this game. Let's go Milwaukee over 7.5 is a very low over here. Excuse me. My fault. Pardon one. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to take Milwaukee over 7.5. I don't get the line. Woodruff 6 and 3 is a regular. Quintana I know is a regular, so it's not like your bullpens are going. A 4.4 and a 3.4 ERA, and then here's where I don't get the 7.5. So I like I definitely like the over here. Plus they've been scoring. Both last 2 games have went over. So I like that too. The matchups favoring, they're scoring a lot. So you'd be, unless they're facing a Verlander or McCullough, you think they're going to score. Tampa Bay, Toronto. Okay, McCullough shut him down yesterday. A good pitcher shuts down good offense, and that's what happened yesterday. Although Tampa scored 6, and I got bottom of the ninth to lose the under lot. It's under 7.5, and it was 7. And even that was mostly Tampa had scored. It was all Tampa. Over under 8.5. Shane Baz for Tampa, 0-1 with a 3.38 against Russ Stripling, 4-2 with a 3.12. This is the games that are getting me in trouble. I don't know what to do with it. Is it an over? You got a 3.38 and a 3.12. Is it an under? They didn't go under yesterday with McCullough on the mound. They ended up with an 8. Here the over-under is 8.5. Ross Stripling is 4-2 with a 3.12, but Tampa Bay's hitting. Toronto's not. Toronto should hit Baez. 8.5. This is a tough one. Well, let's dig a little bit. Toronto and Tampa. All right. Toronto hits 265 at home, 4.01 ERA. Tampa hits 233 on the road with a 3.31. So Tampa's bullpen's pretty good. Probably not used a lot yesterday with McCullough on the mound and a big lead. Toronto's bullpen probably wasn't used. Well, no, they probably were used to try to stay, but the ace probably didn't pitch. So you have Toronto, the better hitting team, Tampa, the better pitching team. So we're going to go with pitching. Let's take Tampa Bay again. I don't love that one. I don't like the pitcher. 0-1 with a 3.38. Could be a bullpen guy, Stripling. It's a tough call. I'm just taking Tampa because they look pretty hot. And after facing McCullough, Toronto's hitters are not in a good mood. The Yanks in Cleveland, my Yankees, over under 7.5. Montgomery, 3-1 with a 3.27 against McKenzie, 4-6, 4.03. We're going with the Yankees. Enough said. I don't need any more than just Montgomery is a very good pitcher, 3.27. McKenzie, 4-3. But it's just the way the Yankees are just rolling. You sweep a doubleheader. I'm not messing with them. Take the Yanks. Atlanta, Cincinnati. Charlie Morton, I think he was on the Dodgers for a while, 4-3 with a 4.73 against Luis Castillo for Cincinnati, 3-4 with a 3.32. Yesterday, Atlanta. We had Atlanta, and Atlanta won. Atlanta's a pretty good team, 46-33. Morton against Castillo, over under 8.5. I'm not really seeing anything. I think Cincinnati's got a terrible bullpen. So let's take Atlanta again. Over 8.5. Probably gets over. My mind at Cincy, I don't know. They hit okay. Well, let's take Atlanta. They're much the better team. All right. Texas against the Jets, Jets. Again, this was one I lost in the 9th inning where I had the game. We had Texas under 9, and it went to 10 on the last inning again. I got 3 or 4 games like this yesterday where I got 9th inning, and it just, I don't know, it's very frustrating. Over under of 8. We got John Gray for Texas, 4-3 at the 3.89. We got Carlos Carrasco, 8-4 at the 4.85. Over under of 8. We had under 9, and they went over that yesterday. So let's go over with the New York Jets. Over 8. Well, that's a low over. John Gray, 4-3 at the 3.89, and Carlos Carrasco, 8. And he wins a lot, but his ERA is high, so this should be a pretty high scoring game. So we're gonna go over. It went over yesterday, so I think we'll go over today. Baltimore and Minnie, we got Tyler Wells for Baltimore, 6-4 at the 3.23 against Devin Smeltzer, 4-1 with a 2.86. Over under of 9. We had Minnie under 9 and got the W yesterday. Minnie's a mystery. I think there's some injuries. Baseball, you don't know. Unless, football, if it ain't the quarterback, I'm not really that worried about injuries. Most of the running backs, receivers, you can pretty much replace unless it's Jamar Chase, um, and Burrow. Those are key, but otherwise, you're pretty much you just bring in the next guy. Wells 6-4 the 3-2-3, and Smeltzer 4 the 2-8-6. So let's go under again. You went under yesterday. Under is 9, which seems like a really big spread with these two pitchers. I mean, you got a 2-8-6 and a 3-2-3. Baltimore does not hit, and they're on the road. Their bullpen's great, 2-8-3. And Milwaukee, I can find them. Hello. Oh, yeah, they're a National League team. I'm looking for them in the American League still. On the road, they hit 231, I think, with the 317. Yeah, I'm going to lock this game. Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, we're going to. Oh, I see. I saw an L. That was for the Dodger game yesterday. I'm like, why would I put an L for it? They didn't play yet. Okay, there's lock 1. Both good bullpens, both good starters. Neither of them really hit. They went under yesterday. Minnesota under 9. Yeah, so let's go under in this game. We'll call this be our first lock. California and Houston. Houston's red hot. Suarez for California, 1-2 with a 4.36 against Valdez, 8-3 with a 2.65. Is Valdez an ace? I think he is. If I can find my Houston's. Yes, Valdez is the second ace of the staff. Here's our second lock. Take Houston. Lock. That's what I'm looking for in a lock. I got Valdez, an ace, 8-3 with a 2.65 against California. The Suarez, 1-2 with a 4.36. Huge pitching matchup for Houston, obvious. And they're one of their aces going. So we're going to take Houston. We're not fucking around with the over-unders. California, they don't have a good pitcher, so there's no point to go. Yeah, Houston might score, but California might not. So it just looks like a better It looks like a better team play. Houston, they'll win 7-1 or something. So do you get over? But they win. So we're gonna go there. Boston and Chicago. Boston, Connor Seabald, 0-1 with a 13.50 ERA against Keegan Thompson. Sounds like Keegan Bradley, the golfer, who's a choker. 7-3 with a 3.34 ERA. Yesterday, Boston over 7.5 or 9.5. I think it was a 7.5 was a loser. I don't know. They didn't score yesterday. I'm going to take I can't trust Keegan Thompson. Let's go over in this game. Let's go Boston over. Boston over on Friday won. Boston over yesterday lost. So we're going to try Boston over with Connor Seabald leading the way over 8.5. Connor's got to be good for 5 or 6 runs for the Cubbies, and then it's up to the bullpen. When you look at Boston's bullpen, it's a 3.91. So, yeah, the Cubbies should get a lot of runs today, but I can't trust Keegan Thompson. If I could trust Keegan Thompson, now he's not bad, though. He's 7-3. The Cubbies should win, and it should be pretty high scoring. So maybe they'll win like 10-2 or something like that. Arizona, Colorado. Zach Gallen, 4-2 with a 3.32 for Arizona. Chad Kuhl, 5-5 with a 3.49 ERA. Over under, yes, you guessed it, 11. And I had them over yesterday, and they went way over. So we're going to go over again. Colorado over 11. I got two pitchers that are in the mid threes, but Colorado hits so much better at home. And they scored like 20 runs yesterday, and they scored a bunch before. So I don't, little pop-ups go for home runs. So let's go over 11 in this game. The White Sox against the 49ers. We had locked the 49ers on 7-1. Yes. Over. It didn't get there yesterday. 49ers and the White Sox. Again, had the 49ers under. So I played them over, and they didn't get the 7.5. I played them under. They got over 7. What will they do today? Over-under is 8.5. The White Sox, 4-4 with the 5-1-9 against Breba, 3-1 with the 2-7-0. Let's play the 49ers. Maybe Montana will be in the crowd in Rice. Maybe they get out there. I'm just going with the pitcher of the 2.70 ERA. Oakland and Seattle, the two worst Z teams out there. We got for Oakland, Montez, 3-8 with the 3.20 against Robbie Ray, 6-6 for the 3.78, and over under a 6.5. This is like a 35 in football. How the hell do you make an over under 6.5? Yesterday, now 7-1. I had Seattle and got the W. Yesterday, we had Oakland under, and now we had Oakland over and lost. And at the end, I said, how the hell could I look? I looked at Oakland over, and I looked at their batting order. And how the hell could I play it over? Should have been played under. But again, it's all based on the starting pitching. Although you do try to look at the lineup, but again, it's so skewed if they face good pitching. Like I tell you the Tiger story. So when they brought up this new guy, he gets a lot of hits. But then if you looked at who they were facing, the pitchers were terrible. They were minor league pitchers. And they're all excited. Oh, look at this guy. He comes in, they win, they score. Then they faced reality, went to Boston and played some good pitching, and they got shut out. And that's my point. So your average goes higher against the weak pitching and then the good pitching. So it's almost like, what's their average against good pitching? What's their average against weak pitching? And that's kind of what you have to do. So in this situation, what did we have? Oakland. All right. So let's go Oakland under. Well, 6.5. Oh, my God. Robbie Ray, Montez. Montez is 3-8 with a 3.20. How can you possibly? You can't bet this guy to win. Ray's 6-6. I'll go Oakland under and roll the dice again. It's always under 6.5. Forget about it. Don't even play that one. Both these teams are Z teams. They're both terrible. No bullpen. You can't bet them to win. Oakland's won 26 and lost 54. So we're not betting on an Oakland to win. It's you either bet the over or the under. It's 6.5 and two decent pitchers. I don't know. I don't know what you do with it. All right. Oh, okay. I got two more games. The Chargers and the Rams. We got Gore for the Chargers, 4-3 with a 3.34 ERA, over under of 8. Clayton Kershaw, 5-2 with the 2.94. And what I noticed with Clayton Kershaw, almost all of his games go over. There's always a lot of runs, and I don't know if it's the Dodgers or what, but you think every Kershaw game is going to be 2-1, and they all go over. So we're going over 8 with this. LA over 8. You can't bet against Kershaw, although this Gore is pretty good. This actually should be a low-scoring game. But like I said, the Kershaw factor of it normally goes over, and the over-under is 8. Why isn't the over-under 6.5 with this game? This is my point. So you got a 6.5 with a 3.78 against a 3.20. Both pitchers stink in the Oakland game. Here you got a Kershaw and a Gore, a 2.94 and a 3.34, and this over-under is 8, where it should be 6.5. So, I know the Dodgers have a little better offense. So we're going over 8 because of the Kershaw fact. And the last game, the Cardinals and the Eagles. Over under 7.5 for St. Louis. They're number 2. Wainwright 6-5 with a 3.07 ERA against Phillies ace 6-4. The 2.89. We're going under. We're taking the Eagles under, and it's 7.5. We're not locking it, but we probably should. Wainwright and Wheeler is 2 very good pitchers. Very low ERAs, just what we're looking for. Now here at 7.5, and yet in the San Diego game, they got it at 8, which is basically the same pitcher, right? A 2.89 and a 3.07 against a 2.94 and a 3.34. It's hard to believe the Dodger game's an 8 over under. So anyway, take the Eagles under 7.5 with the aces going. All right, so let's go. All right, so let's recap. We're not playing the Tiger game. They stink. They're too inconsistent. If you go over, they go under. Who the hell knows? If you need to play, I play it over. I'll play it under. I mean, just flip a coin whenever it comes. Go the other way. All right. The 1:30 game, Miami, Milwaukee over 7.5, Tampa Bay, the Yankees, Atlanta, the Mets over 8, the Vikings under 9. That's our first lock. Houston, second lock. Boston over 8.5, Colorado over 11, the 49ers, the Raiders under 6.5. Yes, it's very low, but both teams absolutely can't hit. The Rams over 8 with Kershaw, and the Eagles under 7.5. Those are today's selections, 2 locks. Now, with July 4th coming, a lot of these games are early. I think the Cardinals and the Eagles are the night game. Just be careful. Just have fun with this. Football coming up soon. What are we? July 4th. So we should be preseason starts in a month, and then the Labor Days when college always kicks off. We'll look for some good college. Usually Alabama wins by 50 the first game against some half decent team that has somewhat of a name. What else? Okay. What I was talking about yesterday was the market, right? My Canadian club is 50. That's what the market bears. The cost's probably in the 40s. They got to sell it and make profit, so they do it at 50. That's what I do with my football lines. When I do my own line, what am I saying? I'm saying what the market line should be. In other words, they adjust Alabama, Notre Dame, Michigan to USC's a lot on the West Coast to what they think. Well, everybody's going to bet them. So instead of making it -3, I make it -7. That's what they do because they know these people are betting. You're going to bet on Alabama. Well, obviously, our family, we bet against Alabama like we had Georgia. Not a problem. We bet to win. We don't bet to vote. So that's where you've got to be careful with the Alabama, So what I do is I give you the real line. This is the line I think the game should be at. And I'm good enough to do lines. So now when my line and their line is off, a bunch of points, that's one reason we might not lock the game. We might, but we will play it. I get that a lot with the Armies, the Navies, Coastal Carolina, the Utah States last year. More of the little teams, they don't know how to line them. And the Air Force is a good example. The militaries, Army's been a very good team for a few years. They'll make the spread. I remember against Michigan, they were 14. It was a jaw. I was all over Army. That game should never have been more than 7. So that's what I have for that. So that's what I'm doing is really marketing, and I'm really getting the free market line of what it should be. Like when I talk gold and silver, and I say, well, gold should be 10,000 an ounce. That's what the real physical is, but it's being kept down as the Alabama game. The spreads move based on people are going to bet Alabama, people are going to bet Notre Dame, USC, Michigan, because they're more popular. But that's not the right line, and that's why how I'm successful. I don't make my own lines in baseball. It's too many averages. I don't use averages very much in football. I can look at it and go, yeah, we're betting Tom Brady. He's good at home. He's a good dog. Maybe I'm using an average to tell you Brady's a good road dog, but uh, that's a very successful way. I don't know if I could do that in baseball. It's just the difference is football's once a week. I can really study it. Baseball, boom. You're watching the games yesterday. Here's today's bunch of games. There's just too many games and too many days. I can probably, because I live in Detroit, I can zone in on Detroit, but they're so bad and so inconsistent. There's really not a lot you can bet on. But that's what I'm looking for. Is the market of it is what's really the real line should be, and that's how we're so successful every year. Another big year. I think I won 44 grand last year. Got so hot in college. College was so easy last year. The Georgia, Miami of Florida found a quarterback. See, but that's where I really take off is Miami of Florida changes quarterbacks to Van Dyke. They're with King. King sucks. They lost to Michigan State. They barely beat App State. Here they bring in a new quarterback, Van Dyke. And see, here's what I notice, right? They normally score. They're not very scoring a lot with King. He's a terrible quarterback, but he's one of these running quarterbacks. So they think that makes the difference. It doesn't. And so they score like 20 a game. All of a sudden, they score 40. So my spider senses go, what the hell is going on? Where did they get 40 from? Was there a lot of interceptions and kickoff returns? No, they changed quarterbacks. They went to Van Dyke. He threw 5 touchdowns. He wasn't there the weeks before. You wonder, well, what's the coach doing? Why isn't the coach playing this guy if he's that good? And I go, okay, I'll make a note of it. Van Dyke, Miami over. The next week, he does it again. Miami, 45 points. Miami, I don't care if they win or lose. They don't really have a great defense. But again, they score in the 60s. The game's in the 60s. The next week, I look, okay, I'm going to bet Miami now. I'll bet decent. And the over-under is like 40-something because Vegas is not understanding the market, right? They're looking at the Derek King stats where he put 20 up a game, and then you blend in a couple of Van Dyke 40s, and you got, it's about, it's a high 20 average. So we're going to make the over-under in the game 48. Well, no, with Van Dyke, they're a 60-point game because they're going to score 40 and still give up their 20s. That's when Teaserking is at its best. Now I start locking, going, fuck, Miami's a 48. Van Dyke's going to do it by himself because he's just done it 2 weeks in a row. And again, knowing the teams as overs and unders. So do they have a Georgia defense or a Clemson defense? They're playing Wake Forest. They're playing Pitt. They're CC teams without really strong defenses. That's why I keep track of the defensive averages, scoring and points for and points against. And that's where I find Georgia because they give up 7 points a game. They're an under every week. Clemson's going to be like that this year. So that's what I'm looking at is getting the market. So I like how I blend everything together. So what's the market? Well, the market over under on Miami of Florida is probably 55. I'm doing 48. I tease it to 42. It's a lock. They're playing a Wake Forest who scores 50 points a game, and you got Van Dyke putting up 50. They played a 100-point game. The over-under was probably in the 40s. That's how Vegas doesn't understand the market a lot of the time. And excuse me. And that's what we're looking at. That's how we're successful. I can figure out what the market is. I know this is a $50 bottle and it's selling for 50. I know it costs 40. I used to work there. That's the key. So I make my market, but then I catch the change. That's why you look at box scores. You're looking for certain things. What am I looking for? That's what I like. All of a sudden, now I happen to have that type of mind where I got all the college teams pretty much locked up, but I have my spreadsheet for that by conference. And I'm going, okay, what's going on here? This team's normally, it happened a few years ago with South Florida. They're doing nothing, not scoring. I'm betting them under, winning. All of a sudden, they put up a 50. What the hell happened? Again, I look at the box score. They changed quarterbacks. They went to Quentin Flowers, which is why I said he'd be a good pro because you couldn't. I would watch highlights and it'd be 3rd and 1 and he'd keep the ball and they'd have him dead to rights and nobody could tackle. He'd go for 5 yards untouched basically because this guy had such great moves, but he could throw too. And so that's what you're looking for. And it happens a lot in college where they stick with the senior and then here comes this guy and they don't know. And then they put him in because of injuries like Van Dyke last year. And all of a sudden the guy's a superstar and you're looking at the coach like, what the fuck? Don't you know how to coach? Why hasn't this guy been in the lineup? But that's what you catch. Vegas is looking at bland, just the average, right? Miami scores 25 points a game. No, they don't. They score 20 with King and 40 with Van Dyke. That's what you're looking for. Then you go into the box score and you see the new quarterback because I'm tracking every quarterback in college. And I know when there's a new one, I go, who's this guy? And then I see his stats. And if he throws for 10, if he throws for 400 yards and he's 28 out of 30 with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, I'm keeping my eye on this guy. And the Michigan quarterback was like that. The guy a couple of years ago, I can't remember his name. He started for 2 years. He starts off at Mississippi and he throws for 5-6 touchdowns first couple of games, playing Pacific and New Mexico State. Then they get in conference and he plays Alabama and Georgia and Florida and LSU. He don't do shit. So you realize against good teams, he doesn't show up. He's good against weak teams, which is what Alabama has been for the last 10 years when they beat the New Mexico States and the Dukes. But then when they get in against LSU and Clemson and Auburn when they're good and Georgia when they're good, they don't win because they're just running the old Steelers system and they're weak against a good passing team. That's why Burrow lit them up. That's why Georgia lit them up, and they couldn't handle Georgia's defense last year. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking at the detail in football. We're looking for that, which then brings us to what's going on in gold and silver and why I make the comments I make is the same situation. Well, Howard Gold doesn't move. Why is silver at 20? Well, I'm explaining it's still fixed. It's still not where it should be. The demand is huge. For example, Indian weddings I talked about yesterday. The Indians, when they get married, hold the chain, this is the gift they must give, a gold piece of jewelry to the wife. And I think the family too. And so the price is being held down. There's a lot of marriages that aren't going to happen in India because when gold goes to 20,000 an ounce, ain't nobody's buying gold for the wife. Anyway, so I make the same comments with the same analysis, and that's what I do in all of life is you analyze. And it's good at poker. You sit at poker and you look at the table and you ask yourself, why did that guy call? Why did he bet $10 pre-flop? Is he betting on an ace? But when he does it 8 or 9 times out of 15, you're going, is he getting cards every time? or is he just that's the way he plays? Now, I know with me, maybe 3, 4 weeks ago, I sit down. I think for the first hour, I got cards every hand. It was like aces, kings, queens, ace, king, ace, queen, pair of nines, pair of sevens, pair of tens. It was a joy. And I kept betting, and people must have thought, oh, this guy's really aggressive. How can he have hand? And yet I had cards every hand. Then finally I got 2-7 and I checked. Um, and I didn't win a lot because people were folding because I kept betting and they kept folding. And they weren't getting, I must have been the only one getting cards, but normally it's a reality. They're getting cards, they're betting. That's what's happening. And so you look at it, and everything is the why, at work or with women or with men or whatever. There's always tells, there's always what's going on. And that's really what you're looking for. So with gold, with silver, why am I telling you to buy it? Well, I understand inflation. So from a market if it was at a market standpoint, like football, right? Alabama's more because they know people are going to bet Alabama, and they're not going to look at the game analytically like I do. That's why I win. That's why I tell you, so you can win. Gold and silver are they're not telling you the whole story. It's Alabama, so you have to dig. You have to go, what's going on? Oh, it's inflation. Gold goes up automatically, not because the price goes up. It's because the value of the dollar drops. But you can see the value of the dollar dropping when you go to the grocery store, when you buy gas, your heat, electric. All these things are not really getting more expensive. That's the inflation. But the inflation, the dollar dropping, everything should go up in price. And this is the dilemma with houses. On one hand, they should be going up because of the inflation on the other, but they're already up. And now here comes the high interest rate. So now it becomes confusing. Well, wait, there's inflation. The dollar's worth less. The price of the houses should rise. But then you got this high interest rate. So people can't afford the house because the price is already zoomed up from before. Maybe anticipate. I don't know. I don't know why the house value is so high, but it is. I think maybe because of the low interest rate, and they could get more for it. This I'm not sure. All I know is I haven't been in a house in a while, and I won't buy because I know it's crashing. So where the inflation should keep your price of your house up, the high interest rate is going to keep it down because then it becomes supply and demand versus market. Yes, there's less, the dollars are worth less, so the house should be worth more. But what's the house really worth? And that's really the question. Okay, I'm just checking for chat, but I don't see anything. So that's really what you're looking at in everything is market. It's what should happen, but it's not in gold and silver. So they're keeping the price down on purpose because J.P. Morgan, who owns the Fed, doesn't want competition. They knew if everybody went into gold and silver, nobody would buy dollars, so they would lose in a competitive. What do I own? Dollars or gold or silver or Bitcoin? And you can see Bitcoin crashing. Bitcoin's not an asset. Why would you own Bitcoin? If you want protection, you buy gold and silver. Yet nobody seems to understand it, or they don't tell you this. They're not saying go into gold and silver, so people don't go into gold and silver. And that's the problem. But that's really where your best, that's your lock. Gold and silver is Tampa Bay. It's Alabama, it's Georgia. That's what gold and silver is. It's Georgia. No, Alabama's going to win. They want Alabama to win. Da 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 da. How many times did I hear that when I picked Georgia to win the title? Well, they want Alabama to win. I says, I don't care. When you're on the field, you're not scoring on Georgia. So that's what happens, and it's that's what you have to understand. So gold and silver are money and are assets, And eventually what happens is they can do all this talking. It's like talking up a big game, right? Oh, well, here's how Georgia's playing Michigan. Well, here's how Michigan could win, but we all know they don't have a chance because they ain't scoring, because they run the ball, and you can't run the ball on Georgia's defense. Left the quarterback who wasn't very good. So what are you going to do? You're not going to score on Georgia, and Michigan didn't. So you could talk that Michigan could be competitive, but in the end, there's no way they can be competitive. You know Georgia's going to win. That was a lock under, easy winner. That's what happens. So they talk the same way with gold and silver. Oh, well, the dollar could raise interest. They're just doing the pregame bullshit that they do in football where, oh, yeah, sure, the Lions could beat the Tampa Bay. That'll never happen. But that's what they do. They try to talk you into that. But only the prudent one is smart enough to know the truth, which is me and you. We know what's really going on. That's what I try to teach you. What's the truth? What's the market? That's what you need to understand. So you need to understand gold and silver is not priced properly. The spread is wrong. That point spread on gold and silver should be, like I'm saying, gold should be at least 20,000 an ounce. Just because oil, gas is now $5. Gas was, I remember paying $2.99 4 or 5 months ago. Well, like let's say January, February timeframe. I was paying before the war, I was probably paying $2.99, and then it went up to like $3.10. Now it's $5. Well, why didn't gold and silver go up? They're assets. They're better assets than oil. Oil is really, it's an asset, but you're not. What are you going to do? Get a barrel and put it in your basement? I mean, that doesn't make sense. But I can hold gold and silver in a safe in a secure place. So that's really what you're looking at, is what's the true value. And that's why I say what I say. 20,000, 30,000 for gold, maybe 1,000, 2,000 for silver. That's the true numbers. But because JP Morgan doesn't want competition, if everybody understood what I'm teaching you here, if everybody understood it, they'd all own gold and silver, and therefore the COMEX would be gone, and nobody'd own dollars, which JP Morgan would cry about. See, JP Morgan's writing the script here. No. It's the dollar. We're raising interest rates. It's up to 0.5%. No. It's going to be stronger. Stay in dollars. Who the hell is putting their money in the bank at 1%? Well, and then, so let's say you put 10 grand in at 1%. What are you making? $100. And then the 10,000 is only worth 9,000. So you end up losing $900 by putting it in the bank to get 1% interest. Who would do that? But if I own silver at $30 an ounce, it can only go up because the price isn't right anyway. And that's what I say. But you can't look at the $30 price or the $20 spot and try to take that. If I make my own Georgia-Michigan line, I got Georgia favored by, let's say, 7. If the line comes out 3, my line's still 7. I can't look at the 3. That's why I make my line first. My line is reality. Georgia -7 over Michigan. And if I get it -3, fantastic. I'm going to bet more because that, and I'm going to tease it to +3 because I should be teasing it from 7 to 1. Here I'm teasing it from 3 to +3. So now I'm getting +3 or maybe +3.5. Because that's reality, is my reality. This is what the line should be. But in the unreality of Vegas or the Fed or whatever, they're throwing out a number that isn't real. Silver's not 20. That means they're buying it for 15. No, it means they're not even holding it. They don't have any silver that they're buying or selling. They're just making up a number to keep the silver price low so there's not competition on the dollar because they print the dollar. They're a monopoly. Now, monopolies are illegal and shouldn't be there. That's why we have competition. And that's what you want. You always want competition because then it forces the price down and the quality up. That's why you have Polo and Nautica and all these, because if Polo goes at 200, Nautica comes in at 50, who are you going to buy? You're going to buy Nautica 99 out of 100 if you need a shirt, right? So the only reason I bought this Polo, it was $39. If it was 100, I don't buy it. That's the key, right? That's where pricing comes in. That's why if gold and silver were at their real prices, people would be running to it going, it does go up. But since people are still thinking De'Ara King's the quarterback of Miami and not Van Dyke, this is my point. I understand Van Dyke's the quarterback and their scores are going way up. I get that. Most people don't. Most people look at the average and say, Miami scores 25 a game. The over-under is 48. I'll bet it under, whatever, because they're not understanding Van Dyke's the new quarterback. And that's my point. You've got to look at that and understand it, which they don't. So that's why I talk gold and silver different. But I know the key fundamentals are their assets, the real money, and the dollar is going down because they're printing too much and the inflation. And then they're stuck in they must keep printing to pay all the Social Security, the Medicare, and all this stuff. There's nothing there. They have to print. Well, the more you print, the less it's worth. You got to keep printing to pay that off. So they'll never get down. You're raising interest rates, which is only good if I throw the money into the bank, which will allow the bank to destroy and bring the quantity of dollars down. As you print, you've got too many dollars out there. That's why they're worth less. So in their mind, we'll raise interest rates. People will put their money back in the bank and then we'll destroy it. And then that'll actually lower the amount of dollars out there. But you've got trillions of dollars. They are not doing that. Nobody's running to put their money back in the bank. If you even trust that the bank, I'm going to put my money in and I can get my money out and they don't freeze my accounts, i.e. Toronto, Canada, why would I do it? And with the inflation, my if I put 50,000 in, it's only worth 40 in a month anyway. So there's no value. But if I put it in gold and silver, you know what? The value goes up. But I know it's going up. But because they're keeping it down, most people don't understand. Oh, it's low. It doesn't move. It moves. It's moving like crazy in the real world. So the real line went Georgia -10 now. But you still see Georgia -3 over Michigan or over Alabama. You're not getting the real line. Therefore, you don't, you're shocked. It's an upset. It is never an upset. It's exactly what it should be in my world because I'm making the real line. And that's why I give you the real line when I give me my football. And I'm saying Georgia 7 over Michigan. And then I'll say the real line, the Vegas line's 3, and Vegas is way off. Listen to any of my sites. That's how I locked 8 games in the college bowl. Go look at that tape. It's right on there. And I won all 8 because the overs and unders were screwed up. The teams were screwed up. They didn't have Baylor. They had Baylor as a dog. They had Oklahoma State as a dog. Clemson under. Miami got canceled. That would have been 9 locks that would have won. UCLA got canceled. That would have been 10 locks that would have won. The Alabama unders, the Georgia unders, all of that was very easy. It wasn't like when I think about the Detroit Kansas City game, I have no idea. It can go either way. They could get hot and score, but Detroit only has 3 hitters that hit over 250 in their lineup. So you can't expect a high scoring game with them, but because their averages, the 180 hitter can get 2 hits. I mean, it happens, but when you look at the guy hits 180, you've got to say it's going to be an under game. That's what it is. But in gold and silver, we're not really dealing with averages. We're dealing with reality. Russia, 13,000 tons of gold. What are they doing? They're buying it because they know it's got a value. They know their ruble isn't any good until they started backing their ruble with gold. And all of a sudden it went from 150 to 50. China, the same thing. Let's talk BRICS nation. What the fuck is BRICS nations? BRICS nations is China, India, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Argentina, Brazil, all of these countries that kind of don't like the US, and they're forming their own currency, not relying on the US dollar and relying on gold and silver and other commodities. What would you rather have? A dollar backed by gold and silver, or gold or something a little bit, or the US dollar? To me, I'd rather have the gold and silver backed dollar because I know it at least has gold. It has assets to it. You can't bet paper. Paper has paper to it, and it's useless, right? How much is this piece of paper worth? Nothing. It's worth 1 cent. I can throw $100 in a picture on it and say, here it is. This is what it's worth. It's worth $100. No, it isn't. It's a piece of paper. The law makes Target take your $100 bill and give you $100 worth of goods that they've priced. Now, the more you fuck around with the dollars, the more they charge. Like Oreos is $5 a thing now, because Oreos knows that they're printing more and it's worth less, and they need to get their money out. Some things can't do that. That's my point. Toyota offered me $23,000 for my 4-year-old Camry, and I don't know, how much is your new Camry? Well, it's over sticker. It's 30 grand. Oh, yeah, I ain't paying 30 grand for it. Why would I pay 30 grand for it? It's not worth. It wasn't worth the 24 I paid for it. So you can try to raise your price because of the inflation. That's why all the prices are going up, because of the inflation. You can raise it, but I'm not going to give you 30 grand for the car. It's not going to happen. I refuse to. I'm right now fighting with the meat counter at a grocery store where the ribs. I like these 3-bone beef ribs. They're normally $10.99 a pound. I buy 3 of them. I cook them up instead of the slab of ribs. Now they're $14.99. I go, I'm not going to pay $15 for them. I don't know that they were worth $10. They used to be $5 a pound. But that's the thing. That tells you, that's the news that tells you there's inflation, right? The dollar has less value because I got to pay more for ribs, and I got to pay more for a Camry, and I got to pay more for any car. So because the prices are up on Oreos, on gas, it's because the value of the dollar is dropping. Okay, so let's fundamentally take that throughout. That means gold and silver should be going through the moon. It means my Tom Brady card should be going much higher, right? So that's what should be happening. Now, here's a lie that they tell you that most people either believe or just ignore. They'll say, well, gold's down today because of the stronger dollar. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? The dollar's not stronger. You're still printing it to death. Everything else is still very expensive from what you're used to paying when the dollar was here. And that's why I tell you the value of the dollar is dropping. What do you mean the value of the dollar? Yeah, you know what it's going up against? The yen, which is now $137 to 1. And the euro, which used to be 120, is now 104. Yeah, the dollar's up against the two currencies that are both being inflated more than the U.S., which is saying something. That's what we're up against. The dollar is not up in value. It's up in value versus these other currencies. So wait a minute. So I'm going to sell my gold at this $1,900 price and buy dollars because it's up against the yen, which is going bankrupt. And if you don't understand it, look at Sri Lanka. They are gone. They don't have any oil. They're now they're not selling any oil. If you have a car in Sri Lanka, you can't get oil. You can't get gas for it. They're shutting it out because they can't afford it. Why? Because nobody will take their money. Why? Because they've inflated it to death. It's worthless. That's what happened to Greece. Now you see it happening to Sri Lanka, right? Just go look up Sri Lanka. It's hyperinflation. In other words, when you print and print and print, Nobody wants your money. Nobody's going to, so they can't go and buy oil from Saudi Arabia or Russia or wherever because nobody wants their money and they don't have any gold. If they had gold, they could buy because gold's an asset and gold is something always demanded since the freaking Romans, probably earlier, I think the Egyptians. But I think that's what the pyramids are all about. It's the tombs and all the emperors would get buried with gold and stuff like that. I bet if you broke into a pyramid and broke into these tombs, it'd be covered in gold. If it hasn't already been broken into. So that's what's happening. Well, same thing's happening in Japan. China's housing market's already collapsed, so they got big problems. So they're printing, but they got 25,000 tons of gold. I got to look up how much is a ton of gold. I think it's like 1,000 ounces, or I'm buying an ounce at the coin store. I buy, give me 5 ounces of my 1 ounce gold eagles or Cougarans or maple leafs. And I'm like, oh, I got 10 ounces, and it's like these guys have tons, which is just worth, $1 billion or so. Anyway, so Japan, what are they doing? They're inflating. They're not raising rates. They're keeping the rates low for some strange reason. And very, very soon, it's 137 to 1 on the dollar. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Nobody's going to want yen. Right now, the reason the dollar's up is because the yen's dropping. So they're not going to have any value with it, right? Who wants yen? So they're going to want to buy oil from Russia or Saudi Arabia, and they're going to say, not with yen, you're not. Why would I take no value? Right now, the Russians don't even want US dollars. Nobody's going to want yen, right? What happened? They're bankrupt. Your currency, nobody wants. I don't trust it. Why would you pay me that? It's like getting paid in Bitcoin. I don't know what it's worth. Well, it's worth 60,000. Now it's worth 30,000. Now it's worth 18,000. It's not even worth 20,000 anymore. Why would I want to take Bitcoin? If I take gold, I know it's 2,000, but I know it's a lot more than that because they're depressing their price. Bitcoin, they're really not depressing, although I think they are. I think whoever got involved with it started algorithming the bullshit that they're doing to gold and silver, but that's not real. So I don't know what Bitcoin is, but I'd much rather be in gold and silver than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a pyramid scheme. Gold and silver are real money and have a big value, and it will jump and they will reset it. So you don't want to loan Japan, but in the meantime, they're selling their dollars just to get something. That's why the U.S. dollar is up a little bit. It's Japan going bankrupt. Now, when they go bankrupt, it's going to cause a shit because everybody will start waking up and start going, fuck, I need gold. Because if Japan goes bankrupt, Sri Lanka, they're a little country. Greece, they're a little country. They both went bankrupt. Here comes Japan. They're a big country. They're the G7. What a bunch of losers those people are, right? And if Japan goes out, who do I trust? So let's say I own a bunch of yen. Where do I put it? Do I put it in US dollars? I just got out of US dollars because it's being inflated. Where would I have a 50,000 yen, 100,000 yen, because it's really not worth anything anyway. It's 137 to a dollar. So let's say I got 500,000 Japanese yen. Where would I put it? Anybody? Would I put it in US dollars, euro? Maybe the Russian ruble I would if I could buy some, but I don't know. It's for sale because we sanction them. I'm not putting it in Chinese. I guess I could either buy Tom Brady rookie cards and Mickey Mantle and Derek Jeter, or I can buy gold and silver because you know what? I know that's going to hold in value. But I know that most people, well, gold doesn't do anything and it doesn't give interest, so I'm not going to buy it. And it's price fixed, which they probably don't know. Most people think that's the real price of gold and silver is $21 silver and 1,800 and 50 gold, and that's what the real price is. So why would I be in that? Well, because those aren't the real prices. That's why you're in that, because we understand they're being artificially Alabama'd, where the real line is 3, but we're laying 7 because it's Ella fucking Bama. That's really what's going on. So you've got to understand that. Now, if you got the gold and silver is real money concept, and if Japan goes out, where do you put your money? Well, you're going to put your money in, obviously, gold and silver. The Indians are buying gold for weddings like it's, just fist, hand over fist. Wouldn't the price go up in a normal market where demand goes up, price goes up? There's not a big supply of gold. It's not like you can make more. You can't have China make like a toy car. Oh, we'll make a bunch more. You can't do that. So what are you going to do? You can't make more gold. You can't print more gold. Why wouldn't gold have gone up with the demand by the Indian people for the weddings? It's ridiculous, because supposedly the demand is huge right now, because with COVID, nobody got married last year and people weren't working. They couldn't afford the gold and they couldn't get married, because you cannot get married without giving gold as a gift. The family will not allow the wedding. So I'll give the Indians credit for that. I'll give them, that's 1 point Indian. You want to marry my daughter, you start giving me some gold and you can marry her. I love it. I mean, it's perfect. So why isn't the price going up with that demand? Because COMEX is in the U.S., controlled by J.P. Morgan. Now, the good news is J.P. Morgan apparently is out. Apparently, they realize the shit's hitting the fan. The gold price is going to go through the roof. And in their little derivative world, they're going to lose trillions. So they're scrambling to sell, which is why the price has gone down the last week, is they're selling these fake paper contract derivatives, lowering the price, but the price isn't real anyway. So they're just doing these paper contracts to get out, because they see what's going to happen and they're going to lose trillions. So they're running to sell, which is why the price has been dropping. Not from the market, not because this is really $50 and that's what I got to sell it for. The real stuff, it's the paper stuff. Well, I'm in with these derivatives, which is really paper. I don't own any gold. I'm not buying or selling any gold. I'm just doing phony pyramid scheme bullshit paper. And I don't know who's buying it, but they're not buying gold. If they think they're buying gold, those are the same people that bet Alabama every week, because I don't know, but it's Alabama and they seem to win a lot. So I'm going to bet them every week. It don't work like that. So that's what's happening. These people are buying it. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're buying it. They don't actually have value in gold. The ETFs do not have any gold in them. If you own an ETF, sell it, take your money and buy actual gold coins before you can't get them. I'm telling you, the Indians are buying hand over fist, as are the Russians and Chinese. Now, the difference is the Russians and Chinese buy the James Bond blocks. The Indians are buying the jewelry for the wedding. Either way, there are many buyers for gold. Don't kid yourself. There's no freaking demand for it. And don't kid yourself. This price is correct. What they're going to do is you're going to wake up one Monday morning and they're going to say, here's the new price of gold and silver. AKA Teaser King's telling you, I'll do the professor because he's smarter than Teaser. The new price of gold's 20,000 an ounce. The new price of silver is 1,000 an ounce, maybe 2,000 an ounce, because that's reality. So get this $20 an ounce out of your mind, because it's not real. But when we go to the dealer and what does he do? Well, I got a premium of $12. My friend Nick's all pissed off about the premium. I got to pay premium. Nick, the $20 isn't real. The premium that you got to pay $32 is a joke. It's $2,000 and you're getting it for $30. Shut the fuck up, buy it, and know that it's not really the price is much higher because at the end of the day, when the Japan dollar collapses, and then you'll see what happens, and then the euro collapses. And you can see it happening. The Japanese yen, if you do an FX conversion, US versus Japan, a dollar buys you 137 Japanese yen. It used to be 120. I'm seeing articles, when will the yen crash? Well, it might hit 120 this year. It's already hit 137 and going and going and gone. Okay, so that's my point. It's already happening. You can see it happening. It's gone. What do you think what do you think all the Japanese are gonna do with the money? They're gonna run and buy gold and silver. They're not gonna buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's down. You can see nobody's buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin's in 18,000 because people are realizing, we're waking up going, there's no money here. This isn't real. It's not an asset. I can't go to Target. I can't go to the grocery store with Bitcoin. Nobody will buy it. Gold and silver, I can sell on eBay or take to a coin store and the guy will give me the money. That's the difference. But the reason I say so expensive is this huge demand by Russia, China, and India. Wait till the demand in the US starts hitting and all these rich people who have their money managers buying them stock who don't understand shit because they're just idiots, salesmen. They're not economists like the professor here, okay? I'm an economist. I've learned this stuff. I'm telling you what's the reality of going on. Like I tell you to bet Georgia under and to bet the Yankees in a doubleheader. I'm telling you this because this is what's really happening. So there's huge demand for it because the price is low. Now, once it settles, people will start selling at 40,000 an ounce gold. Well, I don't even know what it'll be because after the yen goes out, then it's the euro's turn to go out because their interest rates are still zero. They're printing, and you can see here's the formula, right? It's like the NFL where every team has this 4 wide receiver set and they got the running quarterback and they lose. And only the smart team has the Tom Brady and the Aaron Rodgers and the Mahomes and the Russell, and those teams win. So if you have a good quarterback, you win. If you have a running quarterback, you lose. Yeah, but he's really fat. Look at Kyler Murray. What happened to Arizona in the playoffs? They didn't do anything. Stafford won somehow, and he's just a drop back. He's not a runner. He just drops back and throws. That's how you win. But people want to change it and go, well, we need 4 wide receivers and we need a mobile quarterback. You don't win with a mobile quarterback. You never have, you never will, because the defense is faster than your mobile quarterback. But if you have a Tom Brady who can read a defense and throw the ball on a dime to a receiver, you're going to win. Well, same thing. If you keep printing your dollars and print and have no interest rates, Japan has a 0% interest rate, so does euro. And again, it's the same formula. You're going to print, you're going to have no value. Nobody's going to want it because it's just paper, and people are starting to wake up to that. And once they see Japan fold and they start waking up that, shit, I got to go buy gold and silver. And then the euro, nobody's going to want. Same thing. I'm going to get in gold and silver before it's too late because there's no other place to go. Yeah, the Brady card, the Mantle cards, those help. Housing's already so high that where it should, if you had a $200,000 house and it didn't go to 4, it would go to 4. But because it went from 2 to 4 without inflation, there's nowhere for it to go. It's already, and then you add the high interest rates. If the interest rates were low, yes, the housing would go up because the house as an asset it would cost more money to buy the house. It would go up, but because you've already spiked it, and now what you're doing is you're adding the high interest rates, so you're adding a higher cost, but the dollar's losing value. Then all of a sudden it's $5 a gallon for gas. I can't afford that. That's the inflation. It takes more dollars to buy it. Well, how do I buy a house? Why isn't my house going up with inflation? Because it's already went up. Because it's got nowhere to go but down. So that's what's really happening. So once Japan goes out, people will then be awake. The sleeping giant will be awake and go, fuck, I can't be in money because it's worthless. How could Japan fail? Here comes the euro. I don't want to own euro. It's going to end up just like Japan, which it will. Now what happens? A US dollar, that's always secure. No, it isn't. There's massive inflation going on. This idiot Biden's printing it like there's no tomorrow. There's going to be no value. What do I do with my $100,000? I got to buy gold and silver. There's nothing else I can do. The housing market's already up with high interest rates. I can't go there. Why are the interest rates higher on a house? Because if I'm lending you money, I don't want to get paid back in inflated dollars, right? The dollar's losing value. So if I'm normally going to charge you $20,000, that's in regular dollars that doesn't lose value. These dollars are going to be worth half. So I got to charge you higher interest rate because I won't get my 20,000 back. So I raise interest rates to get my 20,000 back. So instead of interest rates being 3, I got to make them 6. So when you pay me back on the loan of the mortgage, I get the money back. But I got news for you. They're not going to get it because it's going to be much less than the rate. And the rates to go to 1 or 1.5 are so low, it doesn't matter. There's nothing that's happening with the rates that are going to make it any, the key's the dollar. When they start talking, we got to lower prices, that'll lower inflation. No, inflation's only about you've printed more money, period. It's got nothing to do with prices. Prices is because you've fucked with the dollar so badly that they're not worth anything. So the dollar, the price is just, well, I wanted $10, but now $10 is worth $5, so I need $15 to get the $10 out of it that I need because I spent to buy. Back in the day, I spent $30 and I'm selling this for $50. But the $30 at that time were a real $30. Now the $30 at the time is, if I charge you 50, is only going to give me back 25 because it's been halved. So I got to sell it for 60 to get the $30 cost out of it that I spent because the $30 I spent is not worth it anymore. And $50 will only get me 25, so I got to raise the price. That's why you raise prices, because you're not getting it. The problem is us, the market, where I get back to Alabama and Georgia. Since we're the market, we determine we can't afford it. This is what's going to happen to the economy. What do you do now? I can't sell it and get my money back out of it because nobody will pay for it. I'm not going to pay $15 for ribs. What are you going to do with them? You've spent so much on buying the ribs, but you can't sell them because your price is too high. So you lower your price, you put them on sale, and then I come out and I'll buy 10 pounds of it because now it's on sale for the price that I want to pay because I'm the market. $15, you keep them. $10, I'll buy a few. And that's what happened. But you paid already for them. You want to get your money back. You can't. You're screwed. You don't understand the market. You must understand the market. I will only pay $50 for this. I'm not going to pay $100. You're fucked. You can only sell it at 50. So now you stop carrying it. Or how do I cut my costs? Well, I got to lay people or somehow cut wages, which I can't do. So if I'm paying you $30 an hour to work for me, John, I can only give you 25 an hour. That's not going to work. Although John really can't afford to leave because most of the companies are going to be the same way. I'm not hiring. I'm not going to hire anymore. I got to lay off because the only way I can stay in business, I can't sell this at $100. So the only way to stay in business is to cut my costs, which means I got to get rid of some employees. That'll cut my costs, and I can sell this at 50 because I already paid 30 for it 6 months ago, and I got to get it off the shelf. And then you debate about what do I bring in the store and what can I sell it for. So the butcher companies are all going to go out of business because If they need to raise New York strips to $20 a pound, good luck. I don't know who the hell is going to buy it. Hi, Terrell. How are you? Anyway, if that's what it is, that's the problem, right? So I got to lay off people. The more people laid off, the less have money, the less are going to the butcher store. So now all of a sudden, I can't sell steaks. I'm fucked. Or I better lower the price and find a way to cut costs so I can stay in business. This is why businesses fail. If I buy this for 30 and I can't sell it for 40, I can't sell it. And therefore, I can't be in business because nothing I buy, I can sell for what the market wants to bear. And let's go back to class one on the market. I'm selling, I want to sell. I see this guy selling this at 45. I check the cost. How much can I buy it for? Oh, I can buy it for 30. I can make 15 a bottle. Okay, I'm going to get in and sell whiskey. Okay. Forget the liquor license now. Let's just call it Coca-Cola, whatever you want to call it. Now, if the cost goes from 30 to 45, can I sell it for 65? I got to make my 20%. Otherwise, there's no reason to be in business. So I'm only in business to sell inventory. That's why I go into business. And if I can't sell it if the cost is so in other words, if I'm selling at 45, if it costs me 45, I don't get into the business, right? I can't because I can't sell it at a profit. So why spend 45 on the bottle of Canadian Club, but can only sell it for 45? I don't enter into the business. I look for another business. That's what's being done here. The cost is going up, so I got to get out of the business because I can't. The market won't allow me to make my 20%, which is why I got it in the first place. And that's what happens. So, instead of just going out of business, the owner goes, well, I'll cut costs. First, I'll try raising it to $60, but they don't understand what the market is. Then I'm going to go and lay off everybody. Well, how is it going to get on the shelf if you don't put it on the shelf, if you got nobody left? So that's really what the problem is, right? Why did you get into it in the first place? Is because you could make a 20% markup on the stock. So you're buying the inventory. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to be a store. Dresses, clothes, whatever, glasses, whatever it is. You've got to be able to buy it cheaper than you can sell it. And the selling price is the market. That's the Notre Dame's and the Alabama reality. Or actually, that's the San Diego State and the Colorados where there is no bullshit because it's Alabama and everybody's going to bet them. That's the real market. I can only sell it there. That's why it's hard. Gas you must buy, but why isn't it $1 a gallon now? Because nobody will buy it. They've hit their limit at $5. Now I just filled up 41 and I was excited. But it's funny, even some of the gas stations, the same brand, I still see it for $5.19 here. 5 miles away, I'm paying $4.81. Like, what the fuck? Why aren't you all selling it at $4.81? But that's what happens. So that's what you're trying to beat. So you can see how it all blends together. This is called classical economics, which is basically the market, and the market works in liquor, the market works in football, in gold, all that. What is people willing to spend, and what do they have? And what does it cost them? So right now, I'll buy gold for $1,900 because I know it's worth $20,000. I'll buy silver for $30 because I know it's worth $2,000. Now, if the guy was selling the gold at $20,000, would I still buy it? Only if I think it's going to be worth $40,000. In other words, so I got to make my 20% on it, just like the store does. But gold's a little different because you got to get out of cash. So now you own the gold as protection because this is going to zero. Let's look at Japan, right? Japan at 137. Believe me, when it hits 145, 150, it's gone. Just like Sri Lanka. So if you don't believe that, look at Sri Lanka. Look at Greece. What happened? That's what happened. So Sri Lanka's out. People are starving. You can't get fuel for your car. What do? Maybe some of them get on a boat and go to another country and try to live there, but they need money. So the rich get out and they're able to exchange their money for gold, silver, or for the other currency, the euro. But as they do that, the euro's value is dropping. So what's everybody in Europe going to do? They're going to run to the United States for our wonderful dollar that's going under 2. This is why you must own gold and silver, because it's the only way out of this mess of these idiots printing dollars thinking that the value will not go down. We'll just print more. Oh, I got my mortgage. I'll go out to the tree, the back tree, the money tree, and print my $1,500 for mortgage or for rent or whatever it is. I'll go print the money. Doesn't work. They don't want it. No, there's too much of them out. I'll take gold and silver, though, if you want. Or maybe, yeah, you have a Tom Brady rookie card. Yeah, I can take that for rent. Yeah, it's got a value. That's it. You've got to have an asset. Paper money is not an asset. So it all comes down to, what is an asset? An asset is something with value. That like gold has value because it's gold. It's always an asset. It always has value. And it has value since before the Romans. The Romans went out because they debased the currency. They took all the gold out of the coins and all the silver out of the coins. So the coin had no gold or silver. It didn't have an asset. Does that sound familiar? Yes. And what happened is the Germans got all the gold and they invaded them, and that was it. It was all over. So that's what's happening, right? Is you have that mess, but people are not trained or educated to understand that. If you watch Money Heist, season 5, what did they do? The professor stole 90 tons of gold. And that was a lot of fucking gold, 90 tons. Russia's got 13,000 tons. China, 23,000 tons. And India is coming up the rear, but it's a lot of jewelry, which is fine. Gold is gold. Nobody cares. I'll give you this. I'm sure you'll take it. It's 18 karat gold. I'm sure you'll take it. Maybe you'd prefer the coin. I got coins too. But you don't buy ETFs and you don't buy this derivative Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan bullshit. That's what you got to understand. You don't own a cent. You don't own anything gold. If you have an ETF or the derivative, you just own the fucking paper, which is worth nothing. And that's what you got to avoid. So even though you think, oh, in my IRA, I got an ETF, that's gold. It's not. If you bought a gold stock, I own gold stock. No, it's not worth anything. It's worth what the inventory of the gold is. And right now, it's affected by the JP Morgan derivative price. So it's basically $1,500 is what the mine's valuing it for instead of the 20,000 that it should be valuing it for. So that's what's happening. So the only way out, you're not going to, what are you going to buy? So I had this dilemma about a year and a half ago when I figured out what was going on. And if you watch my old videos, I'm telling you, a year and a half ago, I bought gold and silver because there's no other currency to go to. I thought real quickly, I'll go buy euro or I'll buy Swiss francs. No, because they're printing. They're not backed by anything either. So until there's a currency backed, which is what the ruble has just done. So give points to Russia, not to Putin. He's a murderer, but to Russia themselves. They're real people. Give them the credit. They have a smart central banker, central planner, whatever. And she said, we got to back it by gold. And now the rubles went from 130 to it's now 52. And I bet it'll be 20 in the next 3 months. And eventually it'll be plus to the dollar. Like right now, $1 buys you 50 rubles. Eventually it's going to be 1 ruble buys you $50. That's what's going to happen. So we should buy rubles, but since we're not in Russia and it's not on any exchange, we can't, unless you know somebody there who can buy rubles and send them to you. But you can't even do that. You can't FedEx, so they just got to hold a ruble for you. That's what's happening. So when people start waking up in Europe, right now it's Japan, and then in Europe, and they see what's happening in Sri Lanka, And they go, shit, we better get out of dollars. We need to get into that. The problem is the politicians who are the ones behind this mess, who are killing all these people, come out with this song and a dance going, hey, it's okay. We're raising interest rates. It'll be okay. Fuck, Germany, you're in a negative 0.5% of interest rate. Who puts their money in the bank to give them 0.5%? So why are you in? Oh, well, we're going to raise our interest rates accordingly. What's that going to do? Inflation, I guarantee you, there's the same 20% as it is here. And keep in mind, you got to add the oil, you got to add the food, you got to add rent, all to the inflation, which they don't. They take it all out. Well, if you add that, I mean, just rent and gas has gone 30-40%, but you're not counting that. That's also in the inflation. So when I say 20%, that's because they mysteriously take it out and then measure it and go, it's 8%. No, it's 20 because all this shit needs to be in there. So they play the song and a dance. We're going to raise interest rates. But as you do, you kill the housing market and you kill your stock market and you basically kill your economy. Well, you can't do that. So what'll happen is they'll hit a point and they'll start reversing and they're going to go, well, we can't keep raising the rates because we won't have an economy to raise the rates too. We got to start lowering the rates. And that's what'll happen. It'll go up a little bit more. So they look like they're doing something. So they fool everybody into believing that the dollar's where to put your money. It's okay in the stock market. No, that's all dollars. The stock market is not going to help you. It's all dollars. The only thing that can help you is gold and silver, or the Brady rookie card, the Mantle, the Jordan. Those are the only things that are going to help you. And if you're in the stock market, if you for sure get your money out of the bank because you'll never get it out. You're going to go into the bank and you say, well, here's 20 grand. Okay. 3 weeks later, well, I'd like to take 10 grand out. Sorry. We don't have it because they don't keep it in the bank. It's gone. So therefore, what do you do with it? Well, it's already spent. We gave it to the government or JP Morgan and they had a picnic. They bought a boat with it, whatever it is. You can't trust the government. To be honest with you, it never is. It's its own purpose. It's not for us. It's for them. It's corrupt. And you have to understand that basic principle. So you can't trust that. So therefore, you got to get the hell out of the system and into that. So let me quickly do the baseball again for anybody who comes on for the baseball. I talked about it before, but we'll talk. Miami, Milwaukee over 7.5, Tampa Bay, the Yankees, Atlanta, the Mets over 8, the lock, mini under 9, the lock, Houston, Boston over 8.5, Colorado over 11, 49ers, Raiders under 6.5, the Rams over 8, and the Eagles under 7.5. And yes, I love using my football terms. The Raiders are Oakland. We all know that, not Las Vegas. We know with me, I stick with the Cleveland Browns, not whatever the Indians are now. Anyway, so that's what you got. So people will start waking up going, well, this little 0.25% interest rate's nothing. So I raise it even if it's 3%. Inflation's 20. Am I going to put my money back in the bank? They raise the rates to get the money in. Well, why would I give you and get 3% when inflation's 20? And they're going to come out and say, oh, inflation's much better. When you see $5 at the gas station, inflation's not better. All right. When you see $3 at the gas station, then you can start believing inflation's under control. But once you let the genie out of the bottle, once you've printed so much money and the value's lost, how do you gain the value? You can't. It's gone. So that's why, like, I listen to these shows. Oh, it'll be inflation, then it'll be deflation. Inflation will go away. Inflation's never going away. You've printed the money. You've devalued it. It's done. It's devalued. What do you mean you're going to reverse inflation? You can't. You've got to raise interest rates to 20%, which happened in 81, which can't happen now because we have too much debt. And then they would bring in the money and destroy it, and then there'd be less money out. Well, they can't do that now, and they're not going to because they keep spending trillions of dollars. You're not going to get trillions of dollars back in the bank. Your only hope is at the time was to buy a house, which you can't now. So you wait. If you want to buy, you buy the house later. I laugh at people. Why buy land? Well, what good's that going to do you? You know, I'll be a farmer. Do you know how to be a farmer? Do you have money for water and fertilizer, which is extremely expensive now? No. So what the hell are you talking about? You're going to be a farmer. You're going to grow strawberries? I mean, corn? What are you buying? So we're basically all getting screwed. The only way out is gold, silver, or assets. A home, but not at these prices. Baseball cards, Mantle, Brady, Jordan, Jeter. Those are your outs. You must own an asset, not Bitcoin. It's not an asset. All right. So I leave you with that thought. Go buy gold and silver as much as you can. If you have money, go buy gold. If you're kind of short, go buy silver. It doesn't matter. It both will go through the roof because demand will be there because people will not want to own currency. They're not going to want to own the dollar, right? They're not going to own a dollar euro or a dollar yen or a dollar anything. You're only going to want to own gold and silver, so keep that in mind. All right, everybody, have a great day. Happy 4th of July. I don't know if I'll do a show tomorrow. I might, quick baseball one. Yes, I keep rehashing this because it's extremely important, and I want to make sure people understand it. I get questions, so I do respond to the questions by doing a video a lot of the times. All right, good luck today. Enjoy your Sunday. All right, www.teaserking.com. You'll get my email. You can email me. I will answer and look at it. All right, everybody. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.